My wife faked the story about our kid's CEO father. The DNA test exposed the truth. She had been cheating for years. A harsh revenge changed everything. Her life crumbled, and now she regrets betraying our marriage. My entire world crumbled not just with a whisper, but with the earth-shattering realization that the woman I loved was carrying another man's children. How do you even begin to rebuild when every foundation you trusted has been obliterated, and the very air you breathe feels poisoned by betrayal? Our life together had once been a perfectly curated picture, a cozy home, steady careers, and dreams stretching endlessly before us in the Texas sunshine. It was the kind of existence many aspired to, seemingly stable, utterly content. But beneath that polished surface, a storm was brewing, ready to tear everything apart. Hi, I'm Ethan Miller. Before this whirlwind, I was just a regular guy, fit, and, well, some people said I looked a bit like George Clooney. I'd come a long way from my Oxford days, where I'd racked up degrees in computer technology, business, and economics while my father was at the U.S. Embassy. Now, I owned a computer repair business and was pouring my soul into a groundbreaking software program, something that could solve problems in real time for everything from gaming to military tech. It was ambitious, I know, but I was confident. I shared everything with my younger sister, Chloe. She's a junior partner at a top New York law firm, and we've always had each other's backs. My ex-wife, Olivia Hayes, was stunning. 53, with vibrant red hair, green eyes, and a sharp legal mind. She was a corporate lawyer at a big PR firm, always meticulously put together. We met at Chloe's graduation, introduced by her sister, Sarah, who was Chloe's roommate. Turns out, we lived just 3 miles apart in a quiet town called Freestone. We clicked instantly, married 6 months later, and for a while, life was genuinely good. We had a nice home, good incomes, and twice-yearly vacations. The American dream, right? Then, 2 years in, Olivia got promoted. And that's when the cracks started to show. She began working later, going out with her friends more often on weekends. A gnawing unease settled in my gut, that gut feeling you just can't ignore. I know it sounds paranoid, but I started checking her things, her emails. I even followed her one night. Everything seemed fine. No dancing with other guys. Nothing overtly suspicious. So, why did I feel like I was walking on glass? Olivia loved her career, dreaming of a senior partnership before we even thought about kids.
Me?
I felt stifled at my job, a family business where promotions were reserved for relatives, regardless of skill. So, I decided to take a leap. Start my own computer repair company, focusing on business systems and security. I knew it would be slow going, but the potential was huge. I sat Olivia down, explained my plans, prepared her for a tough year, assuring her it would pay off. But I kept my software project under wraps. I didn't want to complicate things further. She was completely against it, though. Why take risks when things are stable? She'd asked, which I now realize meant her life was stable, not ours. Our finances had always been separate, except for a joint account for bills, where we each contributed equally. I made the decision. I quit my job, used my savings, and took out a loan on the house. Within 3 months, my new business was breaking even. My secret software project was also humming along. Life was becoming exhilarating again. Then, one evening, Olivia dropped a bombshell. She was 3 months pregnant. With twins. My mind immediately flashed back to a work trip she'd taken to Miami. The doubt, a cold, hard knot, tightened in my stomach. She became distant, claiming it was for the baby's safety. I tried everything, even had our doctor reassure her, but she was unyielding. Despite the growing chasm between us, I supported her through everything, classes, mood swings, comforting her when she felt overwhelmed. Meanwhile, my business was booming. I hired Ben, a bright college grad, and Lily as my receptionist. One afternoon, right in the middle of a client meeting, my phone rang with an urgent call. Olivia was in labor. I grabbed the DNA kit I discreetly packed days ago, and we were off. At the hospital, the doctor said it would be a while, so they settled her into a private room. Despite my spiraling doubts about the twins' paternity, a part of me, the part that wanted to be a father, was undeniably thrilled. The doctor suggested I go home and rest. I ate, dozed off, then the hospital called. Olivia was fully dilated. It was 2:30 a.m. I raced back, bursting into the delivery room just in time. I watched, a strange mix of emotions swirling, as the first baby arrived, then the second. While the nurses checked them over, confirming they were healthy, I quietly, almost mechanically, collected swabs from each for the DNA test. I felt a connection, a pull, but the need to know the truth was overwhelming. I went to Olivia's side, shared a tender moment. There was a hint of sadness in her eyes as she told me she loved me. Then, they asked me to step out. The next day, I called everyone with the wonderful news. Grandparents were ecstatic. Chloe and Sarah promised to visit their new niece and nephew. I brought Olivia a huge bouquet of flowers and dropped off the DNA kit, which, they said, would take about 10 days. The doctor mentioned Olivia needed to recover from complications. I visited daily, but she was distant, barely speaking. The doctor assured me it was normal, she'd come around. By Friday, she was cleared to go home on Saturday. The nursery was perfect, everything ready for our new arrivals. Saturday morning, after a final check, I drove to the hospital, a nervous excitement fluttering in my chest. I walked into Olivia's room, and it was empty. My heart plummeted. "Where are my wife and children?" asked the nurse, my voice cracking. She said they'd left with another man. Confusion turned to panic. I tried calling Olivia, no answer. The head nurse got involved, then security, then the police. 2 detectives, a man and a woman, showed up. They led me to the security room, played the footage. Olivia, walking out willingly, with a man whose identity they wouldn't disclose. They told me to go home, they'd contact me. I sat in our cold, empty house, feeling sick, anxious, waiting. Later that evening, a knock on the door. It was the detectives again. They wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mr. Miller," the woman said gently, "we've confirmed your wife and the children are safe. But your wife has decided to leave you. She's taken the children. Her attorney will contact you." Then, a chilling warning. "Please don't do anything rash. We wouldn't want to have to take you in." They left me there, completely alone, empty. My hands shook. Tears streamed down my face. Utterly, devastatingly lost. Sunday morning, after a restless, fragmented sleep, I tried to reclaim some semblance of normalcy. Showered, dressed, made breakfast. Afterward, I called Olivia's parents. Her dad, completely oblivious, was excited about their upcoming visit. I had to tell him. He was shocked, promised to call Olivia. At lunchtime, I sought solace in a greasy burger and fries at Denny's. The house still felt like a tomb. I put on the TV, but my mind was stuck on a loop, replaying everything. After midnight, I finally gave up trying to sleep. The phone rang at 6 a.m. Olivia's lawyer. He wanted a meeting at 2 p.m. Maybe, just maybe, I'd get some answers. Walking into his office, I expected only him. Instead, there she was, Olivia, and next to her, Victor Sterling, her boss. I wanted to scream, to demand explanations, but I held my tongue, waited. My silence made them uneasy. "Mr. Miller," the lawyer began, "I've called you here to discuss the terms of your divorce from Mrs. Olivia Miller." He laid out their proposal. Irreconcilable differences. I'd keep the house, my retirement, my business. She'd keep her things. But, and this was the kicker, I had to sign a document allowing Victor Sterling to adopt my children. In return, Victor would deposit $2 million into an account of my choosing. I shot out of my chair, nearly toppling the desk. "There is no way I will agree to this. You can keep Olivia. I want nothing to do with her." Olivia, shockingly calm, stood up. "Ethan, I never wanted to hurt you. I'm truly sorry for the pain. I've been seeing Victor for some time, and we want to be together. He can't have children, so he wants to adopt ours. The kids would have everything they need, a nice home, a good education, a great life. What can you give them? An old house and a small repair shop? You think I'm leaving because you're struggling, because you have no future?" Then, her voice hardened. Please consider the kids. If you don't sign, I will ensure you face serious consequences. Losing your home, part of your income, your savings, and potentially not seeing your children again. This way, you at least get something. My blood ran cold. Absolutely not, Olivia. That house is mine. You have no claim. My savings are minimal. Taking half won't affect me. You make more money than I do, so any support would be minimal. I'm willing to support my children, even if I only see them on weekends. And without me, my business won't survive, making it clear there's nothing for you to take. My voice was a steel trap. See you in court. I turned on my heel and walked out, leaving 3 stunned faces behind. I went straight to Denny's, ordered dinner, trying to quell the rage. Back in my cold, empty house, I nursed a drink, fuming. Just after 11 p.m., a thunderous knock startled me. Still groggy, I opened the door without thinking. It burst open, sending me stumbling back. 3 men rushed in, grabbing at me. My adrenaline surged. I fought back, pushing the first one, making him recoil. The second man pinned me, and then a searing pain exploded in my leg. I collapsed. As my vision blurred, a chilling thought. I might not make it. I needed evidence. The leader pulled me close, hissed, "Now, be compliant and sign the form or we'll return." With a surge of defiant strength, I pushed him away. I slid down the wall, awareness fading, fighting to stay conscious. Vague voices, blurry shapes. Then darkness. When I next awoke, bright sunlight streamed through the hospital window. Maria, the wife of my MMA coach, David, sat in an armchair reading. I tried to speak, but only a dry croak escaped. Maria noticed, pressed the call button. A nurse entered, checked my vitals, gave me ice chips. They tasted like manna from heaven. Maria held my hand, making a call. "Glad to see you're awake, Ethan. You gave us quite a scare. How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck." "Well, a truck might have done less damage," she replied, a wry smile. The doctor came in. "Happy to see you finally awake. You were in a coma for 3 days. You're on the right track now. Think you could eat?" I could eat a whole cow. Everyone laughed, but a sharp pain made me gasp, almost passing out. The doctor adjusted my meds, showed me the pain button, then left. I drifted, the pain meds pulling me under. What felt like hours later, David walked in. He filled me in. The neighborhood watch found my front door open. Found me, called an ambulance and the police. They'd found his number in my emergency contacts. He and Maria had been by my side ever since. "Broken bones, serious damage, but otherwise fine," he'd said. I tried to laugh. It turned into a cough. The pain wasn't as bad now. Once the doctor confirmed I was out of danger, Maria and David left for a bit. Detective Graham Coles came in, asked me everything. He was particularly interested in the message from my attacker, thrilled when I mentioned the DNA sample on my handkerchief. He carefully packed it as evidence. I closed my eyes, exhausted. When I opened them, it was dark. He was gone. The next day, David visited. He offered his place for my recovery. I asked him to collect my mail and if he knew any good divorce lawyers. He did. I drifted back to sleep. When I woke, a nurse was changing my dressings. Looking good, no infection. Eating one-handed was tricky. She helped me cut my food. The next morning, refreshed, the nurse helped me wash up. David returned, this time with a sharp, professional woman, Jessica Vance, my new lawyer. We discussed my situation. She assured me I still had rights, especially to my children. She'd take my case. After she left, David handed me my mail. Among the letters was it. The DNA test results. At first, I was numb. Then, I couldn't help but laugh. A deep, dark, ironic laugh that turned into full-blown hysterics. Neither child was mine. Olivia had been unfaithful to me, and to Victor too. The irony was so potent, so utterly ridiculous, I couldn't contain it. I explained everything to David. He too burst out laughing. I called Jessica. Organize a meeting. Olivia, Victor, their lawyer. At the hospital. I've changed my mind. I'll discuss a settlement. The next day, in a borrowed office, the look on Olivia's face when David wheeled me in was priceless. Arm and leg in casts, tubes connected, my face bruised and drawn, a stark reminder of my ordeal. Olivia looked genuinely shocked. Victor, though, just smirked. I faced them, my voice raspy but firm. After a visit from some of your associates, Carl, I've changed my mind. Don't pretend you didn't set this up. The last words said to me were, sign the papers. Why would anyone else say that unless you sent them? I paused, letting my words hang in the air. My lawyer has prepared a new document for me to sign. It allows you to adopt the children, but without the $2 million incentive. My lawyer explained your original document made it seem like I was selling the children, which could have led to serious legal trouble for me. So, nice try. I handed the document to their lawyer, who looked visibly uneasy. My lawyer and I have put together a new proposal for you to review. It's all in here. Jessica handed a file to their lawyer and copies to Olivia and Victor. This agreement is very different from your proposal. Let me break it down for you. My voice was calm, controlled, utterly chilling. I keep my house and everything in it, including my wife's jewelry, my savings, my business, and both cars. She will also deposit the amount in her secret account, which is about $18,000, into my lawyer's trust account. You can't do that. Olivia shrieked, face flushed. That money is mine. I earned it. Victor gave her a strange, knowing look. He clearly had known about her secret stash. This was the beginning of their end, I thought, a small, dark satisfaction blooming in my chest. Victor gently pushed her back into her seat. Be quiet. You're not part of this conversation right now. Everyone was trying to stifle a laugh, except David, who was quietly chuckling. Olivia turned pale, fell silent. Anyway, as I was saying, I continued. Since she earns more than I do, she will also provide spousal support of $2,500 a month into my lawyer's account. Also, regarding the company you both work for, this is compensation for the role you played in breaking up my marriage and for what I've endured. I need you to pay me $10 million after tax into my lawyer's account. You'll also cover all my medical bills, legal fees, and the costs for my future care. My lawyer will decide the total amount. This all needs to be done by 5 p.m. this Friday. Victor burst out laughing. You're out of your mind. Why should we pay you anything? We got what we wanted, so leave us alone. I'm asking for 20%, I said, a faint smile playing on my lips. What? 20%? I heard you, but what does that mean? That's how much money you might lose in the first 2 years after a legal case associated with your company regarding my marriage and the custody of my children. Did you just make that figure up? No. I looked into your clients and what they pay. It's all public information, easy to verify. Just think about how this will affect your father's campaign for Congress. He's running on family values, you know. Plus, you have many notable clients. If they catch wind of any scandal, they'll abandon you in a heartbeat. Then there's your advertising side with children's clothing stores, a baby product company, a sportswear brand. They will distance themselves quickly if things go wrong. When it all falls apart, there will be a board meeting, and you'll be the one taking the blame. So, you see, $10 million is a small price to pay. Victor's smirk vanished. His face went pale. My lawyer will send you the total amount, and it better be in her account by Friday at 5 p.m. Everyone was silent. I could see Victor still weighing his options, so I pressed on. Oh, and Victor, if you think disappearing will help, think again. I've shared the whole story with 5 lawyers out of state. If anything happens to me, they will report it. I had him. He looked utterly defeated. As we wheeled out, I called back. 5 p.m., Friday. Back in my room, Jessica asked why I'd changed my mind about Victor adopting the children. I handed her the DNA test results. She read them, then burst out laughing. You sly trickster. The kids aren't yours.
Whose are they?
I don't know, but I plan to find out. This shows she was unfaithful to me and Carl at the same time. And when I find out, I will ensure Victor finds out, too. Jessica looked at me impressed. Ethan, I really wouldn't want to get on your bad side. You should have been a lawyer. You would have excelled at it. Thanks, I said, a newfound confidence in my voice, but I don't have that strong drive. Actually, she countered, you do. You just haven't needed to use it yet. The doctors said I could go home the next day if I had help. David and Maria offered, and I gratefully accepted. I still had bi-weekly hospital visits for my kidney recovery. Friday arrived and I waited. At 3:30 p.m., Jessica called. The money had landed, $10,861,312. I was doing well financially, better than ever before. Grace had taken her share. The rest was in my checking account. Life moved on. After 8 weeks of recovering at David and Maria's, I returned to my house. It felt empty, lonely. The silence was deafening. I decided to move closer to Chloe, my sister. I called Ben and Lily, explained I needed a fresh start. They understood. I thanked them for their incredible work while I was gone, then shocked them by handing over the ownership of the business, along with all the earnings from my absence. We went to dinner, said our goodbyes. Next, a dinner with David and Maria. I gave them a check for $500,000. They tried to refuse, but I insisted. It's Carl's money, really. He paid for my care. They accepted. Over wine, I told them I was moving to New York. David fidgeted, then confessed his oldest son, Eric, an engineering grad, had a baby on the way and needed a place. Would I consider renting my house to them? I was thrilled. Set the rent based on what they can afford, I told him. I don't need the money. They can save it for their newborn's education. Maria hugged me, tears in David's eyes. The next day, I called Chloe, told her everything, asked if I could stay with her. She was overjoyed, immediately planning activities. 3 weeks later, I closed the door to my old house for the last time. A bittersweet feeling. I dropped the keys and Olivia's car title, a gift for Eric and his new home. At David's, we hugged, promised to keep in touch. My road trip to New York was slow, reflective. Chloe was bursting with excitement when I arrived. She showed me to my room, then said we were going out for a casual dinner with a friend. Just wear slacks and a shirt. When we got to the diner, I saw her. Sarah, Olivia's sister. It was a setup. I couldn't stay mad at Chloe for long, so I went with it. Sarah hugged Chloe, then, to my surprise, hugged me, expressing her displeasure with Olivia and wishing me fairness. She lived nearby, worked in advertising. The night was surprisingly good. Sarah was the first to pull me onto the dance floor. We waltzed, laughed. Chloe just smiled. You two looked great together, just like a couple. Sarah blushed. I excused myself, danced with both of them, but avoided the more intimate dances. We cabbed home. I teased Chloe about her matchmaking. She just laughed and went to bed. The next day, house hunting. I wanted a house, not an apartment. I loved the yard work, the idea of barbecues. The prices near New York City were insane, but I found it. A 3-bedroom starter home in a secure community, with a guard at the entrance. It had a pool, a gym, a play area, even babysitting. Chloe loved it, joked about moving in. Furnishing the place was an adventure with Sarah and Chloe, turning it into a warm, welcoming home. One room became my office. High-end computer, workbench, cabinets, a safe. They insisted on a housewarming party. I didn't know many people, so it was filled with their friends. It worked. I connected with so many people, joined social media groups, and the next few weeks were a blur of parties and barbecues. I was enjoying this new attention, and honestly, Olivia rarely crossed my mind. During this time, Sarah and I grew closer, beyond just friends. One night, we were supposed to go to the theater with Chloe, but she canceled last minute, not feeling well. So, Sarah and I went alone. During the taming of the shrew, Sarah surprised me by holding my hand. A sweet, unexpected gesture. After the play, a cab took us to her apartment complex. As I walked her to her door, the cab drove off. I groaned about walking home. Sarah just laughed. Well, in that case, you should stay the night. She smiled, took my hand, led me inside. What does a girl have to do to get you to make a move? She playfully asked. I've waited long enough. The night was electric, overwhelming. It had been so long since I'd felt such a connection. We fell asleep in each other's arms, peacefully. The next day, it was afternoon before we woke up. Over deli lunch, Sarah confessed she'd been attracted to me from the start, even envied Olivia. After my breakup, she confided in Chloe, and they conspired to bring us together. I admitted I'd liked Sarah from our first meeting, but didn't want to be disrespectful to my wife's sister. We laughed about their plan. Sarah messaged Chloe. It worked. Sarah was so different from Olivia. Easygoing, no drama. Chloe was thrilled for us. Meanwhile, my software project was finally done. Its adaptability was insane. Military, gaming, aviation, cars. I reached out to a top gaming company. They were skeptical at first, but my demo blew them away. They agreed to a 3-month trial. After it ended, they called a meeting. I brought Chloe and one of her colleagues, a negotiations specialist. The company offered $120 million for the patents. I turned them down. I wanted to license the rights for 10 years. $50 million plus a 1% share of all products. After hours, we compromised $65 million and 0.5% over 10 years.
Contract signed. Done.
I was wealthy beyond imagination.
But I wasn't finished.
I made similar deals with military aircraft suppliers, civil aviation companies, and a major car manufacturer. In total, I was now worth over $250 million after taxes, with projections for over $350 million in 10 years. It was surreal.
I sought advice on investing.
Even just parking it in the bank would yield over $12 million a year before taxes. Sarah and I were living together now. She'd rented out her apartment. Chloe was serious, with another attorney. Just over a year since I'd left Texas, and I felt it was time to confront those who had hurt me. I spoke to Sarah.
She was all for it.
We brainstormed, decided to wait a little longer. Just after dinner, the phone rang. The assistant district attorney from Freestone, Texas. They'd caught the men who attacked me. They needed me to testify in 3 weeks. Yes, of course, I said. Sarah insisted on coming. We decided to make a vacation out of it, arriving a week early. Phil picked us up from the airport. That night, we treated David and Maria to dinner at a restaurant we could only have dreamed of before. They looked incredible. I wore a new Italian suit. We arrived in a limo. The doorman opened the car door, then the restaurant door. We were seated, gentle piano music in the background. David and Maria were beaming. Appetizers, main courses, dessert, wine. As we wrapped up, I saw them, Olivia and Victor, across the room with another couple. I pointed them out. Sarah excused herself for the restroom. Maria followed. To get there, they had to pass Olivia's table. Sarah stopped, greeted Olivia, then pointed at David and me. Olivia looked stunned, covered her mouth. Sarah said something that made Maria laugh, and they walked off. Olivia and Victor then hurried out of the restaurant. When the ladies returned, I asked what Sarah had said. Maria explained. After greetings, Sarah asked who Olivia was with. Sarah replied, "I'm with another millionaire sitting over there," pointing at me. "I should thank you for leaving your husband. We were meant for each other."
I just don't see what you see in this guy.
You definitely made a downgrade. Then she walked away. We spent the rest of the night dancing and laughing. Sarah and I spent the week sightseeing, even learned to handle firearms at a ranch. Turns out, she was a much better shot than me. The night before the trial, we had a home-cooked meal at David and Maria's. So much better than dining out. Phil had exciting news. Eric was getting married in the spring. We toasted. Before the trial, the ADA told us the case was strong. My DNA sample had identified the leader of the attackers, a repeat offender. He agreed to testify against his 2 friends. The ADA mentioned one of the men I injured was still suffering, but none of them would name Victor Sterling. They were scared. We attended all 3 trials. The leader got 15 years, the injured man 2 years, he hadn't actively participated, the other friend 5 years. David and Maria drove us to the airport. As we said goodbye, I handed David an envelope. "Don't open it until we're in the air." Inside were the deeds to my old house, a wedding gift for Eric. I knew how delicate marriage promises could be. Back home, unpacked, I called Chloe, invited her to dinner Friday, keeping it a secret from Sarah. Friday arrived. I told Sarah we were going out with Chloe and her boyfriend. She was thrilled. That evening, a limo picked us up, took us to a beautiful restaurant I'd reserved weeks ago. After a wonderful meal, a musician approached, played a romantic song. As everyone watched, I got down on one knee, proposed to Sarah. Her joy was priceless. She said yes, through happy tears, as the whole restaurant cheered. Chloe hugged Sarah, welcoming her to the family. We danced the night away. The wedding was planned for early spring. I let Sarah and Chloe handle everything. It was a grand celebration. Phil and Maria said they hadn't had so much fun in years. Sarah and I honeymooned on a Caribbean cruise, returning exhausted but happy. My software team handled all issues, so I had time to plan the next phase of my life and my revenge. I was patient. 9 months after we got back, our son Leo was born. A year later, his sister, Maya. We moved into a bigger house, still in the secure community. I was wealthy, a bit of a public figure, attending charity events, making generous donations. Social magazines called us the perfect couple. But I never forgot. The hurt still lingered. 9 years after Olivia left me, it was time for phase 1. For 5 years, I'd had a private investigator gathering intel on Olivia, Victor, and anyone close to them, especially Marcus Thorne, her former boss, who I suspected was the twins' father. The investigator found gold. The twins were Marcus's, just as I thought. Olivia was still in contact with Marcus and 2 other men. And Victor? He was involved with his assistant and various others. I set my plan in motion. I sent Victor proof the twins weren't mine, along with a note explaining Olivia's double infidelity and details of her other relationships. Then I waited. 2 months later, David called. Victor had kicked Olivia out, using their agreement to keep the children he had adopted. Olivia left with nothing. No one knew where she was. Sarah called her parents. Her dad had sent Olivia some money, but told her not to contact him again. Phase 1, complete. Olivia now understood betrayal, loss. I thought she might still have her laptop. Her email was active. I decided to stir the pot a bit more. I sent her the investigator's report on Victor, complete with photos. That should complicate her divorce even further. A few days later, watching an old movie with Sarah, the security gate buzzed. Mrs. Sterling, the guard said, is asking to come to your house. Sarah and I exchanged confused glances. Let's hear what she has to say. Sarah decided. I told the guard to let her in. A few minutes later, a knock. Sarah opened it. Olivia stood there, disheveled, distressed, like she hadn't changed clothes in days. She couldn't meet my gaze. Sarah offered coffee. Olivia accepted, sinking into a chair. I broke the silence. Despite my anger, a flicker of pity for the pathetic figure before me. Then I remembered the pain she'd caused. You look unwell. What happened? That question broke her. She sobbed for 10 minutes. Then, through tears, she stammered, he found out the twins weren't yours and that I'd been seeing Marcus while I was with him. Then he discovered I was still seeing Marcus after we married. He got so upset, asked me to leave. I only had what I was wearing, but I had my car keys and some money. I found a motel, but no one wanted to talk to me. No friends. My family, they wanted nothing to do with me. Barry, he said he didn't need me anymore. He had a new heir. My dad, he sent me some money, but told me not to reach out again. I had nowhere else to go. I used my last bit of money to come here, hoping Sarah would help. I know you wouldn't want to help me, and I don't blame you. I'm so sorry for how I acted. I was selfish, hurtful, and I deserve what happened, but I miss my kids. I want them back. I may not have been a good wife, but I tried to be a good mother. Her words, though prepared, held truth. My anger warred with a strange sympathy. Victor, though, remained my ultimate target. Sarah asked if she was hungry. Haven't eaten in 2 days, Olivia whispered. Sarah made her breakfast. Olivia devoured it, asked for more coffee. Sarah then showed her to a guest bedroom, found clothes. While Olivia showered, Sarah and I talked. Sarah felt compelled to help her sister. I agreed, partly because it would infuriate Victor to see Olivia back on her feet. We'd put her in the guest room, figure out the rest tomorrow. Sarah would take her shopping for essentials. Olivia came downstairs looking much better.
We told her the plan.
She cried again, this time with gratitude. The next morning, Olivia had coffee ready, toast made. Sarah was already eating. Mark, I really didn't expect this kind of welcome. I'm so grateful. I don't know what to say. Olivia, what you did was very hurtful, and you now see how much it affected your family. I think you understand the pain you caused me. However, thanks to Sarah and the love we share, I believe I can forgive you. I will never forget what happened, but I won't focus on it anymore. I don't want you to apologize anymore. That part of our lives is done, and a new chapter has begun. I want you to go shopping with Sarah this morning while I look for a place for you to stay. Today's trip to Walmart is just for the essentials, but later we can find you more fitting clothes. Now I'm off to the gym. See you later. When I returned, the girls were out, the kids at school. On a whim, I called our community's housing officer. He had a furnished one-bedroom starter home available 2 streets away. The owner was an army officer deployed in Europe. I inspected it, paid a year's rent and a deposit. When the girls returned, arms laden with shopping bags, I shared the good news. Sarah smiled. Olivia hugged me tightly, tears flowing. I really don't know what I was thinking when I messed up our marriage. I should have never let you go. Sarah, please take care of him. You will never find a better man, and I know I won't. Then she ran upstairs. Alone with Sarah, I revealed my full plan, helping Olivia and getting back at Victor and his father, Robert Sterling. Sarah fully supported it. The next day, we shopped for Olivia's new place, packing Sarah's van with essentials. The house was packed, but the girls managed to find a spot for everything. Like Hermione's magical bag, I thought. To foster her independence, we gave Olivia $10,000 for her checking account and a credit card with a $1,000 monthly limit. More tears, more hugs. That night, Sarah told me how proud she was. I just hoped Olivia had learned her lesson. The next day, we helped Olivia settle in. She insisted on cleaning the already spotless house. Then she invited us for dinner. We left the kids with a babysitter, walked to her place. She cooked a wonderful meal: roast beef, baked potatoes, green beans with carrots and parsnips, and baked apples for dessert. We left stuffed. In the following weeks, Olivia settled in. Sarah and I decided to help her with her divorce. I made an appointment with Daniel Lee, a lawyer Chloe recommended. He wasn't happy about how Olivia had treated me, but agreed to take her case. I covered the fees. Our main goal: get her children back. I told Daniel I had allowed Victor to adopt them. He said that was a significant problem. So I share my idea. I was offered $2 million for the children but turned it down. I allowed Victor to adopt them without money, but I wanted $10 million as a settlement for mistreatment from Carl and the advertising company. They agreed to keep the company's name out of the divorce, and I signed an agreement to keep that deal private. If I broke it, I'd repay the money. Daniel asked for proof the children weren't mine. I showed him the DNA reports. Marcus Thorne was the biological father. The adoption was invalid. Victor had no legal claim. Olivia could get her children back. I wasn't just doing this for Olivia. It would destroy Victor and his father, Robert Sterling. But I had no intention of harming the children. Daniel promised his help, would update me. That night, I told Sarah everything. She fully supported it. We invited Olivia over. She was nervous until I explained my plan. Her gratitude was profound. A few days later, Daniel called us to his office. He laid out his strategy: filed to end the adoption, contact the DA. Victor and Robert Sterling attempted an illegal adoption, breaking the law. State that they pressured me into allowing the adoption, claiming I couldn't legally give permission since I wasn't the biological father. DNA tests would prove it. Olivia would demand her children back immediately. Legal action against Marcus Thorne for pressuring Olivia into an inappropriate work-related situation. Action against Victor Sterling for pressuring Olivia, affecting her personal life. Action against XYZ Advertising for allowing and promoting this behavior, with Victor Sterling and other executives aware and complicit. Legal action for me against Marcus Thorne for contributing to difficulties in my marriage. Action against Victor Sterling for causing damage to my marriage. Finally, legal action for me against XYZ Advertising for not enforcing ethical standards and employee contracts. Marcus Thorne and Olivia's affair had no consequences, and I had signed a contract for $10 million to keep quiet. I was prepared to honor my commitment and repay the $10 million. Reading Daniel's proposal, Olivia, Marcus, Victor, and Robert Sterling were about to be blindsided by a storm of retribution I had not even fully anticipated. I warned Olivia she was partly responsible. She accepted it. I told Daniel to proceed ASAP. I also planned to share what I knew about XYZ with the media a week after Daniel began. Daniel would work to get Olivia's children back. Leaving his office, I felt a powerful surge of hope and determination. Daniel tried to recover the children, but Victor and Robert Sterling hired multiple lawyers. In the second week, Daniel launched his next phase. A week later, as agreed, I sent all my information to various media outlets. It was like lighting a fuse. The story exploded. Reporters swarmed the courthouse, the homes of those involved. As predicted, XYZ Advertising's clients either canceled or threatened to. The board held an emergency meeting. Marcus Thorne was dismissed without severance. Both Victor and Robert Sterling had to resign to mitigate further damage. They also agreed to a significant settlement for Olivia and me. With the anticipated settlement from my other legal actions, I would more than cover the $10 million I owed for not remaining silent. Out of this chaos, an unexpected outcome for the people of America. Congressman Robert Sterling resigned due to health issues, especially glaring given his family values campaign. Questions arose about his campaign funds, luxury cruises, lavish services. The FBI got involved. Less than a month after I spoke to the press, all issues were resolved. Olivia's children were returned. Soon after, Sarah and I took Olivia and the kids to her parents. I told them I'd forgiven Olivia. We weren't friends, but on good terms. They, seeing their grandchildren for the first time, were overjoyed. Robert Sterling was found guilty of misusing campaign funds, served 3 years in prison. Victor Sterling was found guilty of attempting to buy 2 babies and misappropriating company funds. They found 2 secret bank accounts filled with money from his office. He got 5 years, 2 years longer because he wouldn't disclose the whereabouts of other missing funds. The truth was he didn't know. I'd arranged for them to be concealed. As a final act of retribution, I facilitated his placement with a very problematic inmate. Olivia moved into a bigger house, passed her bar exams, and now worked at the same law firm as Chloe. We sometimes watched each other's children, but never socialized. To this day, Olivia hasn't dated. She's focused on her job and her children. To this day, Olivia hasn't dated. She's focused on her job and taking care of her children. But life, as I'd come to understand, rarely stays in neat, tidy boxes. The fires I'd stoked, the battles I'd fought, they might have burned bright, illuminating a path to justice, but embers always remain. And sometimes, those embers glow with a stubborn, silent heat, threatening to reignite when you least expect it. My new life, with Sarah, Leo, and Maya, was everything I dreamed of, more, even. We lived in a spacious, elegant home that overlooked a sprawling nature preserve, far from the hustle and bustle, a sanctuary. My personal wealth had grown exponentially, not just from the initial settlements, but from strategic investments in the tech sector, leveraging my expertise and my innovative software. I was sought after, respected, and, most importantly, incredibly happy. Sarah was my anchor, my confidant, and the most fiercely loyal woman I had ever known. Her sharp wit and even sharper mind were a constant joy. We spent evenings with Leo and Maya, reading stories, teaching them to swim in our backyard pool, and watching their innocent laughter fill the silence that had once haunted my home. Chloe, my sister, was thriving too, her career flourishing, her relationship with her attorney boyfriend growing serious. We were a family, truly. The quiet peace of our lives was a stark contrast to the storm I'd weathered, and I cherished every moment. Yet, a part of me, the strategist, the one who'd built an empire from the ashes of betrayal, always remained vigilant. The knowledge of Victor Sterling rotting in prison, his father Robert having served his time, was a constant, almost imperceptible hum beneath the surface of my contentment. I knew the details of Victor's grim existence inside, thanks to a carefully placed network of sources. The problematic inmate I'd arranged for him was making his life a living hell. Justice, in that regard, felt complete, even visceral. But revenge, I was learning, was a tricky thing. It could satisfy a primal urge, but it didn't always bring a lasting calm. Olivia, through all of this, was a ghost in my periphery. I saw her name occasionally in legal publications, her rise in Chloe's firm undeniable. Daniel Lee, her attorney, had done an excellent job, and her dedication to her children was clear. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and something else. Not pity, exactly, but a recognition of her own journey through a self-inflicted hell. She had chosen her path, made her bed, and now she was lying in it, trying to build something new for her kids. There was a quiet dignity in that, even if it had come at my expense. The twins, Marcus Thorne's children, were the only truly innocent parties in that sordid affair. I sometimes wondered about them, growing up without a biological father, with a mother who'd made such catastrophic choices. And then there was the hidden money, the millions I'd secreted away from Victor's illicit accounts. That, I knew, was my final, unplayed card, a contingency for a game I hoped I'd never have to play again. It was a silent guardian, a testament to Victor's greed and my foresight. About 3 years into this new chapter, a flicker of the past began to stir. Robert Sterling, Victor's father, was released from prison. The news was a small blurb in a regional paper, easily missed by most.
But not by me.
My network immediately flagged it. Robert, a man whose ambition had once been as boundless as his son's entitlement, was now a pariah. His political career was dead, his name a byword for scandal. Yet I knew men like Robert. They don't just fade away. They stew. They plan. They seek to reclaim what they believe is theirs. My suspicion proved correct just a few months later. Subtle shifts in the market, attempts to purchase shares in smaller tech companies that held peripheral connections to my own, or to companies that XYZ Advertising had once heavily invested in. Nothing direct, nothing that could be traced back to him, but enough for my financial analysts to raise an eyebrow. It was like watching a spider slowly weave a new web, barely visible, but undeniably there. Then, Marcus Thorne re-entered the picture, though not in the way I expected. It started innocently enough, a legal brief forwarded to Daniel Lee. Marcus, after years of silence, was suing Olivia for partial custody and visitation rights to the twins. He had recently come into a substantial inheritance and, apparently, a sudden surge of paternal instinct. This was a nightmare for Olivia, dredging up the entire ugly history of her infidelity with her former boss. Daniel called me, his voice tight. "Ethan, I know this is a huge ask, but Olivia needs your help. Marcus is using your original DNA reports as leverage. He's claiming Olivia defrauded you, and by extension him, by concealing the true paternity. It's messy." I leaned back in my office chair, the panoramic view of the city lights doing little to calm the sudden prickle of unease. "Daniel, I helped Olivia get out of a huge hole. Why is this my problem?" "Because," he explained, "Marcus is trying to paint her as an unfit mother, using the whole saga, your divorce, Victor's adoption attempt, the company's scandal, to discredit her. He's arguing she's too unstable, too duplicitous, to properly care for the children. And, frankly, he has a point, however distasteful. Plus, he's rich now, and has hired a very aggressive legal team. Olivia's already stretched thin trying to provide for the kids and rebuild her reputation." A sigh escaped me. I didn't owe Olivia anything, but the image of those 2 innocent children, caught in another round of legal warfare, stung. This wasn't about Olivia and me anymore. It was about them. All right, Daniel, what do you need? Strategic guidance, mostly. You know the players, the weaknesses, the true story. If we can show that Marcus is only doing this for show, perhaps to spite Victor or even you, we might have a chance. He's trying to establish legal fatherhood, which would naturally terminate Victor's adoption. But if Victor's adoption is void, then Olivia would automatically regain legal custody unless Marcus successfully proves she's unfit. It's a tangled web, and his lawyers are also subtly hinting at Robert Sterling's involvement, suggesting this is a way to further punish Olivia and embarrass you. Robert Sterling, I murmured, a new piece clicking into place. Of course. Robert would leverage any chaos to his advantage. This wasn't just about Marcus's newfound fatherhood. It was another ripple effect, orchestrated by a man who had nothing left but his bitterness and a thirst for revenge. Set up a meeting with Olivia and Marcus. I want to be there. As an advisor, not a party. Sarah was initially wary. Ethan, are you sure about this? You've built such a beautiful, peaceful life. Dragging yourself back into their drama, it just doesn't feel right. She squeezed my hand, her eyes full of concern. I know, love, I replied, pulling her into a hug. But this isn't about Olivia. It's about those kids. They shouldn't pay for their parents' mistakes. And if Robert Sterling is involved, this isn't just about custody. It's another attempt to undermine everything we've built. I need to be proactive. The meeting was tense. Olivia looked drawn, but resolute. Marcus Thorne, older now, with a sheen of new money, had the smug confidence of a man who thought he held all the cards. I sat quietly next to Daniel, observing. Marcus's lawyer, a slick, aggressive woman, began by outlining Marcus's claims, painting Olivia in the worst possible light. When it was my turn to speak, I cut directly to the chase. Mr. Thorne, I began, my voice calm but with an underlying steel that commanded attention. Let's be very clear. You were informed of the children's paternity years ago. You chose then to abdicate all responsibility. Your sudden interest coincides neatly with a significant inheritance and, coincidentally, with Robert Sterling's release from prison. Are we to believe this is a genuine change of heart, or a calculated move to destabilize Ms. Hayes and perhaps, by extension, myself and my family, at the behest of someone else? Marcus's face stiffened. I resent that. Implication, Mr. Miller. My reasons are personal and genuine. Are they? I countered. Because my private investigators have been quite busy. We have a detailed timeline of your activities, your communications with Robert Sterling's legal team, even before his release. We can draw a very clear picture of coordinated harassment and an attempt at manipulation. Do you truly want to make this public, Mr. Thorne? Because unlike Ms. Hayes, your personal reputation is not yet completely ruined. And my team will ensure every single detail of your past indiscretions, your professional misconduct, and your current motivations are laid bare for every news outlet in the country. Marcus's lawyer bristled. This is intimidation, Mr. Miller. No, I smiled, a cold, predatory smile. This is a warning. This is me offering Mr. Thorne a chance to do the right thing, before I do what is necessary to protect innocent children from being pawns in a petty, orchestrated game of revenge. My legal team will not only demolish your client's custody claim, but we will also ensure he faces legal consequences for harassment and attempting to influence ongoing legal proceedings. And we will link this directly to Robert Sterling. The room fell silent. Marcus, for the first time, looked genuinely rattled. The meeting ended without an agreement, but the seed of doubt had been firmly planted. Daniel and Olivia looked at me with a mixture of awe and relief. Ethan, Olivia said, her voice barely a whisper. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Just focus on your children, Olivia. I replied, the emotionless words a shield. That's all that matters now. Over the next few weeks, the legal wrangling intensified. Marcus Thorne's legal team, clearly shaken by my intervention, softened their stance. The threat of public exposure of his and Robert Sterling's machinations was a powerful deterrent. Daniel Lee, with my strategic input, managed to negotiate a compromise. Marcus would gain supervised visitation rights, with strict conditions, but Olivia would retain full custody. It was a victory, but a fragile one. The Sterlings, I knew, would not forget this. And they didn't. Robert Sterling, now a free man and desperate to regain some semblance of his former power, began to move more openly. He established a shell company, buying up distressed assets, trying to slowly rebuild a financial empire that could eventually challenge mine. He also started funding political candidates, aiming to re-establish influence, albeit from the shadows. His primary goal, however, was clearer: to find the missing funds, the millions I'd hidden from Victor. He knew I had them. He just didn't know where. And that, I realized, was a ticking time bomb. Then came the news that froze my blood. Victor Sterling was granted early parole. Good behavior, the reports claimed, a hollow laugh escaping me. Good behavior in a prison where I knew he was suffering daily? It was a farce, a sign that Robert Sterling still held some sway, pulling strings from behind the scenes. Victor was out, and I knew with chilling certainty that his first thought would be vengeance. "He's coming for you, Ethan," Chloe said, her voice tight with worry.
And us.
"He won't forgive what you did to him in prison." "I know," I replied, running a hand through my hair. The calm I'd painstakingly built was cracking. "And I'm ready." I immediately beefed up security around our home and business. Leo and Maya were too young to understand, but Sarah understood the gravity. We discussed contingency plans, escape routes, even the possibility of disappearing for a while. But I refused to be driven from my home, from my life.
This was my stand.
Victor wasted no time. His first move was subtle, almost insidious. My businesses started facing spurious lawsuits, anonymous complaints to regulatory bodies, minor technical glitches that seemed too coordinated to be accidental. It was a war of attrition, designed to drain my resources and distract me. But I had prepared for this. My legal team, led by Jessica Vance, was a fortress. We swatted down each attack with precision, exposing the frivolous nature of the claims. Then, things escalated. My car was tampered with, a brake line deliberately nicked. Sarah, ever observant, noticed a faint fluid leak. My security team found it just in time. This was no longer just about money or reputation. This was personal, dangerous. "He's trying to kill you, Ethan," Sarah whispered, her face pale. "I know," I said, holding her close. "And that's why we end this.
Now."
I had always known the hidden funds would be Victor's ultimate weakness. He coveted money above all else. And for 5 years, I had kept it tantalizingly out of his reach, moving it through complex international channels, digital assets, shell companies that even the most determined investigators couldn't easily unravel. It was my insurance policy and my weapon. I called Daniel Lee and Jessica Vance to my office. "It's time," I said, a grim determination settling over me. "We bring down the Sterling Empire, permanently." My plan was intricate, a multi-pronged assault that would hit Robert and Victor where it hurt most: their finances, their reputations, and their freedom. First, I activated a long-dormant account. It contained the proof Robert Sterling had used to leverage Victor's early parole, evidence of bribes, political favors, and a network of corrupt officials. This information, meticulously gathered over years, was now funneled to a carefully selected journalist known for his integrity and investigative prowess, someone outside of the Sterling's reach. Second, the hidden funds. I engineered a situation where Victor, desperate for liquid assets after his parole and fueled by a burning desire to restart his life of luxury, would try to recover what he believed was his. I leaked carefully constructed hints, breadcrumbs that would lead him to a specific, highly visible digital asset. It was a trap, baited with the very thing he craved. The public expose hit first. The journalist's article, backed by irrefutable evidence, revealed Robert Sterling's deep ties to corruption, his manipulation of the parole system for his son, and a litany of other offenses that made his previous campaign fund misuse look like child's play. The public outcry was immediate and furious. Calls for new investigations, new charges, and a complete overhaul of the parole board system echoed across the nation. Robert Sterling, already a disgraced politician, was now revealed as a criminal mastermind. The FBI and various state authorities descended upon his remaining assets, his new shell companies, and his political network. The spider's new web was torn to shreds. Simultaneously, Victor fell right into my trap. Following the digital breadcrumbs, he attempted to access what he thought was his hidden fortune. But instead of millions, he triggered a sophisticated digital honeypot. It wasn't just empty, it collected undeniable evidence of his illegal attempts to hack into what he perceived as a financial institution, which was actually a digital facade I had created. This, combined with the new investigations into his father's activities and the old charges of attempting to buy children and misappropriating company funds, provided a fresh batch of evidence. The police arrived at Victor's luxurious new hideout, paid for, I suspected, with whatever meager funds Robert had managed to scrounge up, to find him frantically trying to crack the digital trap. He was caught red-handed, not just for the hacking attempt, but for violating the terms of his parole, and for new charges related to attempting to bribe officials, a detail subtly included in my leak to the journalist. This time there would be no early release, no backroom deals. The final hammer blow came from an unexpected quarter. The problematic inmate I'd arranged for Victor in prison, a ruthless individual with a network of his own, had been carefully fed information by my sources. While Victor was on parole, this inmate, now cooperating with authorities in exchange for a reduced sentence on other charges, provided additional details about Victor's criminal activities both inside and outside prison. He painted a picture of Victor's true character, effectively ruining any chance of leniency. It was a full-circle moment, the last piece of my retribution. Victor Sterling was sent back to prison, this time with a far longer sentence, without the possibility of parole, and into a higher security facility where even his father's remaining influence couldn't reach. Robert Sterling, already facing a mountain of new charges, was looking at a very long stretch himself, his reputation, his legacy, his entire life's work, utterly destroyed. With the Sterlings definitively neutralized, a true sense of peace finally settled over me. It wasn't the fleeting satisfaction of revenge, but the profound calm of having closed a dangerous chapter, of having protected my family and ensured that evil would not thrive. Olivia, surprisingly, found her own strength through this turmoil. Marcus Thorne, facing the wrath of the media and the renewed legal scrutiny, quietly dropped his custody suit. He became a recluse, his inherited wealth doing little to quell the public scorn. Olivia, having weathered another storm, emerged stronger. Her work at Chloe's law firm flourished. She successfully represented other women in difficult divorces, becoming a fierce advocate for children's rights. She never dated, but she found deep fulfillment in her work and in raising her twins, giving them the love and stability she had once denied herself. Our interactions remained cordial but distant, a mutual respect born of shared hardship, but with a firm boundary. Our children, Leo and Maya, occasionally played with her twins at community events, but we kept our distance, allowing our respective families to forge their own paths. As for the hidden money, the millions I'd orchestrated away from Victor's grasp, it was never about keeping it for myself. I established the Phoenix Fund, a philanthropic organization dedicated to supporting victims of white-collar crime and injustice, particularly those whose lives were shattered by betrayal. We funded legal aid, counseling services, and educational programs to help individuals rebuild their lives. I poured my intellect and my resources into it, transforming a tool of retribution into a force for good. Sarah became an active board member, lending her incredible insight and compassion. My life with Sarah, Leo, and Maya deepened. The experience had tested us, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond. I learned that true power wasn't just in destroying your enemies, but in building something meaningful and lasting. It was in protecting the ones you loved, and in finding a purpose that transcended personal pain. I was no longer just the man who had been betrayed, or the man who exacted revenge. I was a husband, a father, a leader, and a builder. I had found my true north. We still lived in our beautiful home, its walls filled with laughter and love. Leo and Maya were growing up fast, unaware of the tumultuous origins of their parents' happiness, but benefiting from the peace their father had fought so hard to secure. My companies continued to innovate my software-changing industries, but now a significant portion of my time and resources went into the Phoenix Fund, helping others rise from their own ashes. Life, for me, was a testament to resilience, a narrative penned in chapters of pain, struggle, and ultimate triumph. It was a reminder that even when your world crumbles, you can rebuild it stronger and more beautiful than before if you dare to stand up and fight for what's right. And sometimes, that fight is not just for yourself, but for a justice that lifts everyone. I often think about the choices I made, the path I took. Was it perfect?
No.
Was it righteous?
In my heart, yes.
Because it led me here, to a life of profound peace, love, and purpose. It taught me that justice isn't always blind. Sometimes it has a very keen eye for detail and a strategic mind behind it. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, where doing the right thing was intertwined with a desire for retribution? How did you navigate those complex emotions, and what did you learn about yourself in the process? Share your thoughts below. I'm eager to hear your perspectives on how we find true resolution in the face of life's deepest wounds.